Hi.
Hi.
We were going to be interviewing Jeff Kanata and Stephen Leva, but we had a little technical issue. It's nobody's fault except Google's. So we're gonna do that tomorrow, but you'll get the regular Sword and Laser episode now.
Yeah, so we are in pre-show
And
mode right now.
I would sing happy birthday to Veronica for her birthday yesterday, but I didn't pay the license fee.
No, we can't afford
So
that.
now I have to sing like a kind of a TGI Fridays version, where they come over and they go, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy. And then they give you a cupcake with a candle. Is that what you did yesterday?
What? Sing
Did
that
you
song?
go to TGI Fridays and have them give you a cupcake?
I didn't. I didn't do that. I didn't. I'm sorry.
Actually, maybe that's what I'll do next year on my birthday. I'll be like, I want to go to Hula Hands.
I miss hula hands. Sorry, I'm just sending out the the URL. The URL.
Your old buddy Ural.
Mm-hmm. Boop. Okay. Hopefully that is the right link. Who's to say? Who's to say? Oh, okay. The chat room can see us. That's fun. That's fun. So yeah, tomorrow morning we'll be doing the hangout with Jeff and Steven, talking about the book that that Steven wrote and that Jeff audio narrated. Yeah. All right. So we're sure we're episode 184.
Let's just double check.
I like to check on the actual website.
The Damon inside me was 183.
Such fun. We have such fun.
Oh, so much fun. Good night, nurse.
Yeah. Alrighty. Okay, I think I'm ready.
Let's do it.
Let's do a show. And 3. Are you recording? Because I'm recording.
I am not.
I mean, we have it back up already.
Oh, wait a minute.
Hmm.
I have to hijack a different application now because it's not a plugin.
Oh, but it's still a plugin for me. That's weird.
Yeah, I think when you're hosting the Hangout on air, it's still a plugin, but now on the client side, it's not.
Weird.
So wait. So it's not.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
I can record your audio. Really? It's not gonna get. Oh, that's annoying.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, it only gets me in mono and it gets you in stereo on my end.
That's annoying.
Hangouts, man.
Yeah,
glad we put all the eggs in that basket.
Shut up. Yeah, I can only hear you. I can hijack Chrome and I hear you. That's crazy. That's stupid. All right, I'm going to record that anyway. So there.
Okay, just record that end, because that's really going to help me if all this goes to hell in a handbasket.
Something.
Do we have a pre-roll?
No, we don't.
Okay, so just the one ad that's in the...
Yep, just the one in the mid-stole.
Cool. All right, guys, and remember, this is a Google Hangout, so we have questions enabled. So if you want to ask your questions during the show, we'll stick around afterwards and answer them. Or maybe if it's relevant to what we're talking about, we'll answer in line with the recording. Whoa.
Reels?
Like real time.
That's amazing.
Real time technology. Got your beer? Got your drink? Got your cocktail?
No. I have nothing.
No. What do you mean no?
I'm so unprepared.
What is this business? Get on that, man.
All right. Do we have time?
Yeah, kinda.
All right.
What, you can just not have an answer when I ask you what you're drinking in the segment called What Are We Drinking? Tom. Yeah. So, hey guys, how's it going?
Good TV.
What?
Good. It's good TV.
Was it? Was it good TV?
That's great TV. All right.
Okay. So yes, as many of you may have also noticed, the title is incorrect because we are now just recording.
Oh, you didn't edit it?
I can't edit it when it's live.
Really?
It will not let me do that.
Jerks.
So, and I was too lazy to start a new one. Alrighty. And 3, 2. Hey everyone, welcome to the Sword and Laser Podcast, episode number 184. I'm Veronica Belmont.
And I'm Tom Merritt. How's it going, everybody?
And this is a science fiction, fantasy podcast, book club, book publisher, video show, all sorts of things, trying to bring the world of science fiction and fantasy to you in the comfort of your eardrums.
We want to make your reading list incredibly long.
Grow exponentially over time. Yeah, that is a common problem that I hear from people, actually, and it's actually a problem for myself these days as well.
Yeah, I have a problem too. Do you have this problem where you have a long list of to-reads? I do use Goodreads for that. And then you go in when you actually have a moment where you don't have to read something, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna pick something, and then you just freeze, and you can't decide which one to read next.
All the time. That is one of the biggest problems I have regularly. And also I have the issue of starting so many book series throughout the years that I could potentially go back and continue reading multiple series, but I can never decide where to go, what to pick up next.
Yeah.
Rather. So it's kind of an endless struggle, really. But anyway, we should kick off the show with what are we drinking, Tom? I gave you some extra time to go pick up a libation, so I hope that you have come through on that.
I am drinking a Bard's original sorghum malt beer with a Brian Brushwood-like logo.
Why is it Brian Brushwood-like?
Because it has the BB.
Oh, you're right.
At the top. I didn't realize that either till he was at my house, and he's like, hey, this is my beer. Yeah.
That's pretty close. I'm drinking a Racer 5 India Pale Ale. Yeah, these were the beers that I served at my wedding, if you will recall.
I remember, and I told you it was a good choice then, too.
Yeah, delicious. But anyway, let's move on to the first section of the show, which is known as the Quick Burns. So I'm super excited because Dara, who is in the forums, had a fantastic idea to kind of collect all of the quick burns in one place, in one thread. So that way, we didn't have a hard time kind of sorting through all of the news items and trying to find the most recent ones. And she also, as well as many of the other members in the book club, felt as though they were posting things that weren't being seen. So now we have just one thread called the Quick Burns in the news section of the Goodreads forums, and we'll be looking there, and we can sort it by date so we can see which is new, and that's how we're going to bring the Quick Burns to you from now on. So yay! Yeah,
it worked really well this week. I guess the question will be, when do we need a new thread for that? Next week will be fine, but after a while it might get pretty long. So
the introduction thread is very long.
The what thread?
The introduction thread is very long.
Oh.
We have lots of very long threads, and I think this is good because it's almost like a...
Yeah. It might not be a problem at all, you're right.
It's like a history. You can go back in time and see all the discussion items.
It's time travel.
Chronological history, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of cool. But she actually had our first Quick Burns as well, which was cracking my shit up this week. This is, she goes on to say, after extensive research, the Jane Austen Center in Bath has determined that what Jane really looked like, and it's Mary Robinette Kowal, a successful Rothfuss impersonator, puppeteer, and Regency author.
And this is not a joke about the Jane Austen Center creating this is what we think Jane Austen really looked like, but they didn't say it's Mary Robinette Kowal. It was Tor.com who has the post of their picture of a picture of Mary next to the mock-up of what Jane Austen really looked like, and it's dead ringer.
It's creepy. It is shockingly close. And Mary had some fun with it. She was posting about it on Twitter and responding to people's comments. And I just love that Tor posted about this because it couldn't be any closer. It's like they essentially made a figurine of Mary Robinette Kowal.
Frankly, there needs to be a Jane Austen biopic made with Mary Robinette Cole starring.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I would definitely watch
I know
that.
she could do it. She might not think she
She might not.
I don't know. Ben has our second story here. A TV series based on the Elstones of Shannara has been greenlit, according to the Word Zone.
Yeah, MTV. And this is interesting, too, because that, of course, is the second book in the series. So they're skipping the Sword of Shannara, sorry. Once Terry Brooks tells you how to pronounce the name of his series, you kind of have to go with that pronunciation moving forward. But yeah, I guess this is because the books are too similar to Lord of the Rings. That's according to Adam over on the Word Zone. So it'd be too similar in storyline.
The Sword of Shannara would result in near instantaneous lawsuits from the Tolkien estate and Peter Jackson.
So they're kind of moving on. It's set in a world that's a generation after the events of the first book. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of interesting people attached to it, including Jon Favreau, of course, who was the director of the first two Iron Man movies. And
the guy from Swingers.
I haven't watched a show on MTV in a really long time, so I don't know at what level they're producing at in terms of quality for this kind of stuff.
Was watching Teen Wolf, the reboot, and it was very much in that CW-like vein. And they say Al Gough and Miles Millar, who produced Smallville, are going to be showrunners. So I would imagine it to feel a little bit like that. It's interesting to me. Like, it's going to have a little bit of that teen adventure aspect to it if it's on MTV, but it's total fantasy. So
yeah, hopefully they're going off the popularity of things like Teen Wolf or Smallville or these fantastical teen dramas that have done so well in the past and see where it takes them. Our next story also has to do with television. This one comes from Louis. Daniel Abraham gives us an update on the Expanse TV show, including first casting news and the creative team behind the television adaptation. And because, of course, Louis and also Tom, I know, are all over any news about this project.
So excited.
Like flies to honey.
They cast Miller. They cast the detective, and it's the guy from Hung.
I don't watch that show.
But you've seen like a billboard for it or something, right?
Have I?
No?
Yeah, maybe. So I'm looking at a picture of the guy now.
Yeah.
Is that how you picture Miller to look like?
No, this guy's going to need a haircut and a hat.
And a hat?
Yeah. So before I can really picture it.
Okay, well, let's not judge. We'll give it some time.
No. I actually think he's got the right temperament for it. So once they get him all Millered up, it probably should work pretty well.
All right.
Well, this guy's name, and now I can't remember it, and I can't find it. Thomas Jane. Thomas Jane is the guy.
Thomas Jane?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Jane Thomas. Thomas Jane.
We have another bit of news from Shayna. There is currently a Kickstarter campaign for a theatrical adaptation of 5 of Neil Gaiman's short stories. A bunch of the backer rewards are various books and things signed by Neil, and he's in the video, so check it out if you are a fan. Now, this is called October in the Chair and Other Fragile Things This Halloween, and they've so far raised $12,250 out of a $15,000 goal. So they're bringing these short stories to the stage as an adaptation, and I think this sounds really, really cool. But is it going to be traveling, or is it going to be just in one place? It's going to be just in Amsterdam and New York City, I think.
Yep. So it sucks to be us.
Yeah,
we won't probably get to why they're having a harder time. You would think something like this would have hit its goal in a second. There are 12 days left. So they're more than halfway through, and they're still short of the $15,000 goal. But if you live in New York or Amsterdam, or if you're just like the hugest Neil Gaiman fan and you want to altruistically help this to happen, you should go pledge, because I think it's going to be interesting to see this be carried out. Yeah, you do get a ticket to the performance if you select the $30 or more pledge. Actually, no, it looks like you can get for $18 or more, you can get a ticket to any performance in either Amsterdam or New York. But you have to live there. Or get
or
there, I
close to
guess.
there, or be able to pay more money to get to those places.
Excuse for a vacation, perhaps?
It'd be nice if they could record it so that they could send people video versions of the performance.
Oh, you
But
know
then
what?
that might de-incentivize people to actually go see it in person.
No, see, that's the kind of false thinking that I always fight against on the internet, right? Which is that, oh, if we make it available in one way, that will entirely ruin the demand for it another way. Who cares? Do you want people to see it? And frankly, they'd be well over $15,000 if they made a video of it available. So I mean, Neil Gaiman has blessed this. This isn't them like doing it on the sly. If I were them, I would add that in right now. Like, we will make a limited number of videos available to backers of this afterwards. It's not gonna hurt the ticket sales. I don't think so.
Probably not. And also, what was I going to
There's a
say?
difference between seeing it in person and watching it on a video. And if I lived in New York or Amsterdam, I would much prefer, as a huge Neil Gaiman fan, to go to it and see it in person.
Well, I mean, you know how these things work with Kickstarter projects. So it has a big jump in the very beginning, and then it kind of goes down, and then the bell curve comes back up at the very end in the last like 24 hours. So I'm pretty confident they'll reach their goal. I'm not going to bet money on it, but at the same time, that would definitely incentivize more people to contribute. What?
Bet me right now.
You want me to bet you? Okay. What do you want to bet? What do you want to bet?
Money. I'll bet you.
I don't have any money. I'm not betting you any money.
Edition.
A first edition, one of your own first editions?
Or one of yours, yeah. Of the other person's choice.
What? No!
What do you have, like, seriously I don't have very seriously valuable first edition.
They're personally valuable.
All right. A book. I will buy you a book. How's that?
Okay. All right. So my bet, and we will virtually handshake on this, is that they will reach their goal. And your bet is that they will not reach their goal?
Oh, well, wait a minute. I didn't know that was the bet.
What do you think the bet was?
I think they'll reach their goal.
So we can't both bet on the same thing.
Yeah, no, it's not going to work. Let's move on.
Just buy me a book anyway. Buy me a book for my birthday.
No, I'm not buying you a book anyway.
Just buy me a book anyway.
Sure, it's your birthday yesterday. I should have bought you a book. Oh.
Just buy me a book. I didn't buy you anything for your birthday.
You didn't buy the birthday card.
I didn't get you a card either.
That's okay. Terp Kristen got you a story
anyway.
for your birthday.
Oh. Tell me more.
The story is that the World Fantasy Award nominees were announced, as were 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards. Ellen Datlow and Chelsea Quinn Yarbrough were named the Lifetime Achievement Award winners, and the full list of nominees can be found at worldfantasy.org. One novel that was nominated, Terp Kristen pointed out, she really wanted to read The Golem and the Jinni, and Prior Sword and Laserpick, A Natural History of Dragons, a memoir by Lady Trent, was also nominated.
And Fancy People, Neil Gaiman, with The Ocean at the End of the Lane, and Gene Wolfe, The Land Across, are also nominated, as well as, this is for novel, and Sophia Samatar for A Stranger in Orlondria. Oh, and also Richard Bowes, Dust Devil on a Quiet Street. All very fancy names.
Yeah. Rachel Swirsky got nominated for a short story, If You Were a Dinosaur, My Love, is in there.
I see we are not nominated for anthology, but maybe next year.
I don't know if we submitted or if we had to.
Do we have to do that? I don't know how these things work.
Yeah. I think we have to like pay people a lot of money.
You have to pay to be nominated for stuff?
Yeah. Isn't that how it always works with awards?
Oh, John Joseph Adams is nominated for Special Award Professional for magazine and anthology editing. That's exciting.
Well, we can send an email to Marie Brennan and ask her how much grease she had to.
I'm sure she would love to answer that question. I'm sure she has nothing better to do than answer our emails about how we can get nominated.
Our ridiculous emails about accusations of bribery. Let me just say, I do not believe that the World Fantasy Awards nor any other awards actually accept bribes for.
See, the fix is in. See,
this was just a joke. End joke tag now.
/joke.
Yes.
All right, so let's move on to picks.
These are picks. Sometimes we talk about other things we're reading. Sometimes we talk about other things you're reading. This week we want to talk about a couple things other people are reading. Killian finished The City in the City by China Miéville earlier this week or last week and was absolutely blown away by it. Wrote a review up on Goodreads and thinks he'll read a Feist book next for some light, mindless fun.
The City in the City is a great book. It's very Mieville, as all of his books really are. So I would recommend that one as well.
And
if you
gave
like
it 5
things a little
stars,
on the
by the
weird
way.
on the weird side. And then we have a pick from Rabindranath,
Who's from
who
Guyana.
finished Royal Assassin earlier and then dived headlong into Assassin's Quest immediately. He says, "I will forever kick myself for not reading these incredibly brutal books before now." And then he also put up a review. He gave it 5 stars, and it's a good long review too. I may actually post it over on the website because it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, both these reviews are comprehensive. Good job, you guys.
Very good job. And those of course are some of my favorite books of all time. Robin Hobb being one of my favorite authors, and Assassin's Apprentice, the first book in that series, was a pick, wasn't it? We read Assassin's Apprentice.
That's how I got introduced to Robin Hobb.
Back in the day. So hopefully, well, I'm not going to blame you for not picking up the next books, but you really should have known better. You should have known better. All of you. That's a blanket statement.
Now they all know better.
Yeah.
And
new
now
books
you
are
can't
coming
say
out
I
soon.
didn't know better, because Veronica just told you.
But hey, other books are coming out as well. On July 29th, Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch is out in paperback. So if a hardcover book is too heavy / expensive for you, the paperback version is on its way.
I don't generally include the paperback releases on the calendar simply because I feel like so many people read ebooks that first trade release is probably the one most people are excited about, but someone particularly requested this on the Goodreads calendar thread, so I threw it in there.
Very cool.
July 31st, Ecoid, a laundry novella by Charles Stross, is out.
August 6th, we have The Widow's House, The Dagger and the Coin by Daniel Abraham. And then we also have other things, too. Rise of the King, Companion Codex 2, Companion's Codex by R.A. Salvatore, and The Magician's Land, a novel by Lev Grossman. That sounds like is that the 3rd book in the Magician's series?
It is.
Very cool.
August 6th. So that's just a few of people we've either come to know or are fans of, but you can find more upcoming releases at swordandlaser.com/calendar. You know what I like to do with books? Veronica?
What's that, Tom?
Stick them in my ears.
Stick them in your ear holes?
Yep, I play them. I have people read them to me, and I just
You shouldn't play them. They don't like that. You got to be straight with them.
Don't hate the player. Hate the story if it's not very good, but most of them are. So I don't hate them. I play them on audible.com.
Yes, Audible is the leading provider of downloadable digital audiobooks and spoken word entertainment across all sorts of genres. Of course, they have a wide selection of sci-fi and fantasy. And many of the books that we pick for Sword and Laser are available on audible.com, and that's part of the way that we get through so many books is because we can read things on paper, and then when we're doing something like washing the car or driving or doing the dishes or cleaning the house or whatever else it is that we do that, we can't just sit there with a book in our hands. We listen to it. Yeah, I do it at the gym all the time, by the way.
I'm making my kale and radicchio salads with farro. I'm listening to Dawn by Octavia Butler these days.
You're a hippie.
And I put no shoes on. 150,000 titles. Remember back when they were like, Audible has more than 50,000 titles. 150,000 titles to choose from over there at Audible. And this is in no way related to what our pick for the next month is going to be, but The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss is totally available at Audible. It's a great listen. It's how I first experienced the book, and you could get it free. We'll just give it to you.
Yep, all you have to do is go to audiblepodcast.com/swordlaser for a free 30-day trial. Don't go to Tom's house. That's kind of weird. Just
no, that's probably better. It's easier for both of us if you just go to audiblepodcast.com/swordlaser for the free 30-day trial. Audiblepodcast.com/swordlaser for a free audiobook and trial. And let them know we sent you. Don't play coy like, I don't know, I just dropped by. Be like, no, it was Sword and Laser. They're the ones.
Thank you, Audible, for continuing to support our show. We really appreciate it. All right, let's move on to Bare Your Sword, which is our feedback from the audience. So this is a little bit of housekeeping, a thread that Terp Kristen started.
Double shot of Terp Kristen in today's show.
We have a double shot of Terp Kristen and a double shot of Dara on this episode.
Wow.
So I just want to put that out. They have been contributing like whoa in the forum, so a little recognition goes a long way. She says, hey everybody, while going through a backlog of email this morning, I realized I had about 5 emails with a topic related to casting movies for different books that we've read. It was really hard to tell which book it was related to without clicking through. And there are only some of those threads that matter to me. In another book club I'm in, what do you mean? What do you mean, Terp Kristen?
Wait,
what? Another book club. What do you mean by that?
You quit that immediately.
Anyway, she says, in another book club I'm in, for club picks, threads for the specific books are titled with the book identifier in the title. For example, if the club read Ancillary Justice, the threads might be of the form AJ: title of thread here. Or if they read A Game of Thrones, it might start with AGOT: then the name of the thread. Obviously, it would be painful to do this for all the existing threads, but maybe going forward, we could try to do it. What do y'all think? Would that help anyone but me? You know, I never really thought about this before because we have the threads in their discussion folders, and so I always thought about that as being enough of a categorization to keep it from being confusing. But I'm realizing now that people are being sent these like Goodreads Digest emails that just have a bunch of threads that are mixed in from all different, you know, book discussion folders, and also your unread threads. Those also just come in one big folder of stuff.
Yeah, Caitlin
especially on
points
the
out
phone.
the unread thread in the mobile app doesn't tell you what thread it came from, so this would be really helpful there.
So I think it would be okay. And it seems to be that the other book club was started by Rob. So now I have to talk to Rob about this.
And then, well, yeah, Rob says must be an awesome group, and then Alex says whoever came up with this system is a genius. To which Rob writes, LOL. I'm sensing inside jokes.
Yeah, like some other book club inside jokes.
Rogue book clubs are spawning, which is actually kind of awesome, to be honest.
I guess, whatever, as long as it doesn't take away from your primary book club, which is Sword and Laser.
You will
Because I will find you.
Us.
I will find you.
Veronica will hunt you down.
I will find you. I have ways. But anyway, this is a great idea. Great idea, guys. I think we could definitely go forward and do this in the future. And they mentioned, you know, a smaller title like Dawn, for example. It could just say Dawn: title thread name.
Nope, just D.
Just D, because we'll never read another book with the name
We
D.
must stick to the format. Let's have a big flame war now about that. That'd be awesome.
No, they all seem to agree that the shorter title, and if it's a shorter title of a book, it works. So they already decided this.
No, I know. It was
because they're already using that.
Joke tag, Veronica. Jeez.
/ joke.
Hey, I have a question.
Hey, what?
Are there high fantasy books that take place in the 20th century? Because Matthew wants to know.
Tell me more, Tom.
Well, he's curious. Are there any fantasy books that use very traditional tropes of fantasy, but are in a 20th century context? Wizards and dragons and trolls and all that, but also skyscrapers, cars, suits and ties, electricity, iPhones. Not looking for anything steampunk or supernatural. Just something like what would all of these worlds be like if the technology progressed like we have over 2,000 years?
So Raznak had a question that kind of popped into my mind as well, which was, what is the difference between urban fantasy and high fantasy set in current times? And
good question.
That is a really good question. And Matthew had an answer, I think. He says, I don't have a lot of experience with urban fantasy, but what I'm looking for is sort of the same social or world structure as we would see in high fantasy set in a modern place setting. So give me a king and a queen and all that, but have them live in a penthouse. Most of the urban fantasy I've read has a fantasy part hidden from the rest of the world. I'm looking for something where the fantasy part is explicitly the world we all live in. That's interesting.
That would be cool. I get what Matthew's after now, which is like the president is like the high king, right? But he's president, president of the United States, but has like a wizard minister.
No, but he's actually called the king.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you don't have to mess with monarchy.
You could go lots of different directions with that. You're right. You could make it a king. But I'm thinking like suits and ties, getting on Air Force One, and meeting with the Council of Wizards, you know?
Right. It kind of makes me think of Fables a little bit.
There's a little bit of this in the Bobby Dollar series, but again, hidden from the public. The idea of this like just being out and about and totally the way it is in real life is the interesting part of this. Because people point out Dresden Files, which is kind of this, except again, hidden away
Right.
from the public. The idea of it being fantasy the way like classic fantasy is, like everybody knows there's wizards and everybody accepts it. And it's not exactly Powder Mage Trilogy, because that's more 1800s. It would have to be a 21st century version of it. This is cool. I can't.
Yeah, Sean has some suggestions. He says Little Big by John Crowley, The Talisman by Stephen King and Peter Straub, The Knights of Breton Court by Maurice Broadus.
I don't know if I count The Talisman or not. It's not really public. It's a good book, though.
And then Sword Art Online by Reiki Kawahara, which always comes up when I'm looking for sword and laser stuff on the internet. I don't know why. Because it has sword in the title.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, Good question. If anybody has more... It doesn't look like anybody had a definitive answer to this. I mean, Max Gladstone's craft sequence. Okay. That's actually a good one.
Very cool.
Thief's Magic by Trudy Canavan, says Kaidi.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. All right. So there's a few in here. Check out this thread. There's good stuff.
Totally. More housekeeping. So we've been having a lot of requests for, so we're having our first Sword and Laser in-person monthly meetup at Borderlands in San Francisco this Thursday. And other people from other parts of the world want to start meeting up in real life and getting to meet other Sword and Laser members.
It's not this Thursday. It's a week.
The 31st. Yeah, the 31st. I said the 31st. I just forgot what week I was in right now. But this is something we've been doing with Vaginal Fantasy for a really long time too. We have tons of local chapters all around the world for Vaginal Fantasy, and they meet up every month and they talk about the books. And for some reason with Sword and Laser, we never really like publicly talked about that or really made it a thing and publicized it. So yeah, you guys should totally be doing this. If this is something you want to do, if you want to meet with other group members in real life in Meet Space, I started a discussion forum for local group meetups that you can get to on the Goodreads, and just post your location and see if there's other people in your area that you want to meet up with and have a drink in the pub and talk about the book and maybe watch the live stream together. Who knows? So I just thought it'd be fun for you guys to get to know each other in real life if you're interested.
We got some going on. Los Angeles locals, Tacoma, Washington, Sydney, New South Wales, whole globe. Nice. Yeah,
so I actually found those threads in the general forums and put them into this folder. But they're all pretty recent. They're all from June and July. So if you guys want to restart those threads and talk about them some more and find times to meet up, feel free to emulate what we're doing here in San Francisco, because I think it'll be a lot of fun for you. And I can't wait for our first meetup. It's going to be rad.
Time to complete our double shot of Dara. She posted when Amazon accidentally revealed their unlimited subscription service, which is now confirmed and is actually happening. You can pay $10 a month to get access to 600,000 titles, some from big publishers, there's Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, some from indies in there, as well as 1,000 audiobooks, and you can eat all you want or read them. Don't eat them. They're ebooks. And a lot of people are trying to debate, like, is this worth it? I come at it from two sides. I might do this because I probably read 12 to 15 ebooks. Although I do a lot of audiobooks, so I'm not sure. You basically have to read a book a month to make this worthwhile.
Excuse me.
Sorry,
I definitely do that. You're not boring me. You're not boring me. I mean, I feel like I do this enough. I'm actually trying to work through this backlog of paper books that I have in my office for when I've already read the. God, I'm burping and yawning and expelling air from all sorts of orifices. I apologize. I promise I didn't fart. But anyway, if this was wrapped into Prime, I would pay a little more for Prime. But I don't know if I want to pay a separate $10 a month.
Well, again, if you spend more than $10 a month on Amazon ebooks right now, this is a no-brainer, right? But for folks who are kind of on the edge, it may or may not be worth it. It's certainly going to wrap you into Amazon. And the other thing is, my books that I self-publish aren't qualified for this because I'm not a big publisher, can strike an independent deal, and I have to give Amazon exclusivity in order to be part of this trial.
Really?
Yeah.
As a small publisher? Not
so
the larger publishers shouldn't have to
Sword
do
and
that,
Laser
right?
Anthology can't be part of this because we sell it on Nook and we sell it on iBooks, and we would have to give those versions up. We'd have to take those versions down out of those stores in order to get the ability to join this, because you have to be part of what's called the Kindle Select program if you want to be part of the All You Can Read program, which I think sucks. They should make it available to anybody who wants to.
Yeah. Maybe they'll expand it more in the future. I mean, if this was kind of like an early announcement, maybe there's still more to come. Who knows?
Maybe.
Did you talk about that on DTNS?
I did, in fact. The Daily
Cool.
Tech News Show.
All right. Well, let's move on to the Book of the Month discussion. So is this our wrap-up already?
Yeah.
So early in the month?
Well, it is a little bit early in the month, but the next show, the next book club show is not until August.
You're right. I guess you're right.
August 5th.
Though, yeah, that's a little far into the month. All right, so let's wrap up Dawn by Octavia Butler. This was our book pick. We voted on this one from a selection of various Butler choices. This is the one that you guys chose, and I'm really glad you did, because I actually really enjoyed this book.
5 stars for me too. Absolutely.
And I did not realize. I mean, I guess I just have to learn at this point that all the books are going to be polarizing. Like, there's no way that we're going to pick a book.
Pretty rare that they're not. You're right. I mean, because people have so many different opinions. Not every book is right for everybody.
Right. So yeah, last month or last week we talked about some of your discussion threads, but now we're going to go full spoiler. So if you have not yet finished the book by the 22nd of July, I would recommend skipping to the next episode or holding off until you've read the book.
Yeah, we intentionally have put the book check-ins towards at the very end, the last thing we do before we say goodbye, in order to make sure that nobody gets spoiled, but you don't have to miss other segments of the show.
Absolutely. So Tom, so you liked it. Tell me about it.
I loved it. And it feels like the majority opinion was people generally like the first half, and then they start to split off into some people who didn't like the second half as much and people who did. I found the second half different, so I can see where some people might take a different opinion of the second half, but I liked it just as much. In fact, I found Lilith's character to be so much more interesting because she didn't stay the same character throughout. She was the protester. She was fighting against them. She was not believing them. And then midway, they thrust her into the role of being their shill, so to speak. And I was like, this is so much more interesting than if they had totally won her over, which they haven't. She agrees, like, really what we need to do is get down to earth and then bolt. And they know that. And yet she's got to convince people to trust them enough to be able to make it down there and to believe that they're on a spaceship. And to me, that was so much more interesting than where a story like this might have normally gone.
And so I think that was the part that kind of made me the most frustrated, was when she goes into this role where she has to kind of convince people to go along with the plan, and then they don't, or at least a lot of them don't, and you start being very frustrated with that side of humanity. I just wanted people to cooperate. And maybe that's just the way that I felt about the book, or the way that I am in life. But all the people like Carl, for example, who were raging against the machine and not wanting anything to do with the aliens, I was like, just chill out, man. Just go with the flow. You'll be fine. This is your ticket back to Earth, maybe. I don't really know.
Well, and that's easy to say from the omniscient point of view, where we're certain she's on a spaceship. But if you think it's all like the FBI trying to fool you, or the NSA or something.
But like, what did they have to do to prove it to people? Like they did so many.
That was the only part that bothered me. Is like, take these people to a window and show them space. Like, come on.
Like, their human brains will handle it. I promise.
Just take them out in a little shuttle, and just fly them around the moon once. Bring them back. They'll believe you.
They'll be like, oh, it was a virtual reality, like whatever.
Yeah, I guess that's the point. Is like, no matter what you do, if somebody really is,
you throw them out an airlock. That's what you do.
Yeah. See how they do without oxygen for 40 seconds.
You wanna pretend like you're not in space? Try this one out for size.
Guess what? You're in space. Yeah.
You're enough in space.
That seems rather extreme, Veronica. I don't think that's humane.
I'm just trying to do what's best for humanity, Tom.
Yeah. Okay, Lilith. Well, and
So
that's where that's the other side of it that I found. There's such a deep book. There's so many levels, and there's the third gender. Certainly not the only person to ever write a story that way, but she wrote it very well, and I believed the purpose of the it gender. I think the idea that they wanted to do a trade, a genomic trade, was handled so well because they sound so logical, and you totally understand what they want to do. And at the same time, as I'm like Lilith. I'm like, I'm not so sure I want this trade, and it doesn't sound like I have a choice. Like, you're kind of strong arming me here.
strong tentacling.
Strong, yeah. You're using those sensory arms. Oh man, I don't like it.
Yeah. It really brings up the question of what makes us human, and that's actually Barack started a thread about that that I thought was really interesting, because you think of it as evolution happening in a very rapid pace. So instead of, they're basically saying in the next generation it's going to be a 50-50 hybrid of Oankali. How do you say their name again from the audiobook?
Well, in the audiobook, it was Oankali.
Oankali.
Mm-hmm.
So they're essentially saying, every new baby born in the next generation is going to be a hybrid, a 50-50 human Oankali split. And that can be very jarring to your sense of what is human and what that means to be human. But would they not be human, or would they be something more than human? And is that more important than preserving what's left of humanity?
I find it really similar to the idea of, are you if you've gone through a transporter, right? Like if your molecules are disassembled and then reassembled, and it's your memory put back in your body, is it still you? Like, except on a species level, which is to say that our species genetically has changed, continues to change over time. The difference is the speed with which it changed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the teleporter analogy would be like, well, your molecules aren't the same molecules you were when you were 12, unless you happen to be 12. But you are still consider yourself you. So what makes you you, and what makes a species a species? Like, what is speciation? At what point does it stop being human because the genetic change has happened so much? I think it's the speed with which it happens that really causes people to go, hold on, wait a minute. If we evolved slowly over time into different types of beings, that's one thing, but you're kind of forcing the issue to happen fast.
And what was going to be my other point? I had a really good other point. Darn it. Beer. Well, this is what happens when you drink and talk about books.
While you think about that, Barack's question or thought, I thought was particularly... Oh, go ahead.
Is it like a culture thing?
Yeah.
So, was that what you were going to say? Yeah.
No,
yeah.
That's what Barack was saying, yeah.
That is a huge point of this. If these offspring, if these children of human and Oankali have a much different culture than what we as humans have traditionally had, does that mean that they are less human? Does that mean they are something more than human? Or is it just like the evolution, that it's just the evolution of culture on top of the evolution of the physiology?
Yeah, and you're definitely having someone else's culture forced upon you in this situation by genetics. It's not just like cultural imperialism like we have seen happen in history on Earth. It's them putting their culture in your sons and daughters.
That makes me just think about like the themes of rape that are very prevalent in this book as well, because you feel as though, Lilith essentially, I believe, was raped in many ways. I think the human species is being raped in many ways, and maybe it will save humanity, but at the same time, it's against their will. This is not what humanity asked for. Is it what we deserved? No, I don't think it is what we deserved. If you keep using that anthology, analogy.
Please buy our anthology.
Also buy our anthology.
We're using subliminal advertising now, folks.
So it's a difficult situation. I started reading the very beginning of the next book, and things definitely get a little weird. So I would urge people to continue reading, because the way humanity starts either accepting this or not accepting this is pretty interesting.
Well, and that's another thing that crossed my mind even before I read the sample of the first chapter of the next book, was after a generation, nobody cares. It's only that first generation that's resisting. If the Owen colleague can get this to happen, the next generation is going to be like, yeah, but that's who we are. We are the people with different genes. Screw you, Grandpa. I'm the new way.
You don't get it.
Yeah, you old people with your old genes. We're the new genes.
So,
and the Owen colleague themselves, I think, are particularly alien because they justify this by saying, yeah, but this happens to us too. Like, we're not the same Owen colleague we were back on our original planet, or even a few generations. We do this with species all the time. So,
well, yeah, they've done it like 6 different times so far. And even they kind of talked a little bit about their caterpillar ancestors, the ones that they use as like transport vehicles on their ships that look like caterpillars. They don't really have a language, and they don't really have a culture.
Caterpillar.
They're happy. Like that's how everyone's gonna think about humanity in like a generation.
Totally.
So that's kind of weird. But at the same time, it's either that or completely disappear as a species. So how do you make that choice? Yeah, I would want to live.
Well, it's a choice with a gun to your head, though, at that point, right? Like,
but they've already put a gun to their own heads.
You cannot, your species can die. Because this is the brilliance of this, is the Owen colleague are like, no, we'll let you live on the ship. You can live out your life on the ship and be fine. You'll just never reproduce, and your species will die unless you do what we say. Do what we say, or the species gets it.
Holding the species hostage, for sure.
Yeah.
But
what
otherwise,
about the ending? Rob has started the thread about the ending, how we don't really get a resolution. Knowing this was continuing as a series, it didn't bother me so much. And actually, I know some people's ebooks had the first chapter of the next book, and the audiobook that I had the first chapter of the next book, which kind of eased that transition. I was okay with it ending where it did. I am also not someone who has to have a resolution, like a nice, tidy resolution at the end of any novel, even if it doesn't have a series. So knowing it was continuing on, it didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, it didn't bother me either. It's a series I would like to continue, although I have a pretty bad track record with continuing series after I've read the first book, largely in part to being part of this book club. But I wanted the story to continue, which is always a good thing. It wasn't the kind of ending where I'm like, okay, this ended, I don't really feel resolved, but like I don't really feel pulled in enough to finish it. I'm still getting echo on your side, so sorry if viewers are hearing a little reverb effect on my voice. But Lilith was definitely a very strong character, and so I would like to continue learning about her life and how her story continues. I don't know if that goes on and on. I think it kind of delves into her progeny, her next of
her
kin.
Her
brood, as it were, Lilith's brood. But she's an interesting character. I think she was a good, strong choice. I think she did what she had to do.
Yeah, I agree. And to me, and Rob was taking the tack that Lilith was saying, all I'm doing is stalling until I can get to Earth, and then the real plot will begin, and the novel ends with her still in space. If that's your expectation, then yeah, that doesn't feel like the end of the book. To me, I felt like the end of the book was Lilith has to try to get these humans to follow her, and she fails. And failure is a perfectly legitimate resolution. We're not used to it. A lot of us don't like that. We want a happier ending than that. But to me, that was the end. The ending of the story was, sorry, Lilith, this didn't work out for you. And so here's your next option. And it was sort of a pointing towards the next story and a little denouement where you get her, you get this explained to her. But to me, that was the end of that story. The story was, can she lead this group to Earth? And the answer was no, she can't.
Not really, not so much. Maybe a couple people, but I felt very sad for, what was her boyfriend's name? Was it James? No.
Yeah, so I think that's right.
I felt so sad for them. It made me very frustrated with humanity. I think that is, and I feel kind of weird that maybe I sided with the Oankali more than I expected to.
You're an alien.
Maybe I'm an alien. But it made me very frustrated. It made me feel the way I feel about a lot of things in politics and in world news, where I'm like, why are you making these destructive choices? Why can't you just see what the most positive decision would be? Like I know better than anyone else in the world, but still,
and if you're actually asking the question and not just saying, I think you're stupid for not making the right choices, if you're actually saying, why are you making these choices, I think the Owen College should have been able to answer that better. They showed that showed their weakness, is that we are all like, we know what everybody's doing because we see their genes and we know your behaviors. So we're going to match you up just fine. Yeah, they made some real bad calls here. They should have expected a lot of the behavior that happened.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely made some bad calls. They made some bad character judgments. They weren't there certain times when Lilith really needed them to be there. And they didn't do things like show them that they're out in space. Let's just clear that up.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were some issues with that. They're not infallible, which I think is, makes them maybe more human-like. They're not totally omniscient. They make mistakes,
which made them more believable.
Where does they go? Yeah. The sex stuff was weird.
Yeah, it always is, and it's even weirder when you got sensory arms involved.
Tentacles and Bonnie. This is right up Bonnie Burton's alley.
It's kind of tentacle sex, but kind of not.
It's more like a mind F.
Brain. Yeah. Exactly.
I can't say the word because we're not a censored show, but
we're not a censored.
Uncensored. Show. We're not an uncensored show.
Ask your mom about her sensory arms.
Wait, did you just say ask my mom about her sensory arms?
That's what I said.
That's weird because my mom just commented on a Facebook post of mine, so the name popped up, and I thought you were specifically.
I was speaking to the audience.
Right now, ask your mom about sensory arms. I was like, that's weird.
Don't ask her.
That was oddly specific, Tom.
Don't ask her about that.
Don't ask Barbara about sensory arms.
No, please don't. She'll be like, what?
Yeah, Tom.
What are those?
Mom, Tom wanted me to ask you about sensory arms.
Oh, Tom. Oh, he's crazy.
Oh, that Tom. He's always talking about alien sexual organs.
That's me. That's what I'm known for. Yeah, but it was interesting. Like, that caused a lot of divisiveness because it wasn't straightforward. And I think that messed with a lot of people's minds because it was interesting that all of the released people paired up in heterosexual relationships, yet there were overtones of homosexuality, and especially there was this trisexuality going on. So nothing fit in the paradigm there. Yeah,
that is kind of, well, I guess it was a different time, but
it was 97.
Oh, it was 97. Oh, never mind. And also Octavia Butler was a lesbian, right?
Believe so, yeah.
So yeah, then I don't. It was kind of interesting that they all paired off
in a way
heteronormative relationships.
Who she could wake up.
Maybe.
They're like, well, we don't want any.
Was that in their dossier?
Yeah, could have been. See the Owen College knowing that kind of thing.
But if they're in threesomes anyway, what difference would it make?
Yeah, but they're in threesomes with the Owen College. That's different.
All that would really matter was if there was a female somewhere in the threesome to be able to have an Owen College baby.
But don't you need male sperm still? See,
I don't know how the Owen College impregnate things.
Yeah, they could do whatever they could just pull it out. They could put it. I mean, I don't want to get graphic.
Whoa! Is that what you meant to say?
Yeah. I was thinking of test tubes when I said pull it out like of a refrigerator, and then it started to sound like I was saying something.
That is like the dirtiest thing Tom has ever said in a live broadcast of anything. I can guarantee you that fact. Even if you didn't mean to say that, that was hilarious. You were blushing so bad right now. It's hilarious.
That's because I didn't mean that.
I know! That's why it's so funny! Oh, the dog is like, the dog walked over here. She's like, what are you guys laughing at? What could possibly be that funny? Also, it's my dinner time.
Yes, it is dinner time for my dogs as well. I don't have much else to add here, except that I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too. I hope you guys did as well. And so now would be a good point to announce our August pick, which I think a lot of you are going to be excited about. And many of you have already read, but have shown a willingness to reread for the discussion factor.
And let me tell you, I am glad.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have already started to reread, and I'm getting so much out of rereading it, knowing what happens in the future, going, oh, he alluded to that, and I didn't catch it back then because I didn't know what I know now, and it's really cool.
Mm-hmm. That's a little book you may have heard of called The Name of the Wind, book 1 of the Kingkiller Chronicle by Patrick Rothfuss. That will be our August pick. It'll
Do
be
you
our
think we
August
can
pick.
get him to join us?
Potentially. He is super busy writing the 3rd book, so I don't want to take away too much time.
No, definitely do not want to distract him from that.
Yeah. So yeah, I will. We can certainly try to get him to come on the show if he's interested. But otherwise, I think it'll be a great discussion. I'm excited that we can all read this together.
Definitely, me too.
And you can also feel good about the fact that at least the 2nd book in the series is already out. So if you read the first one and you're like super excited to start the next one, it's there waiting for you.
Well, that is it.
Yeah, that about wraps it up. If you want to get in touch with us, our email address is feedback@swordandlaser.com. The website is swordandlaser.com. All of our discussions happen over on Goodreads. And hey, if you want to check out other very cool podcasts, head over to boingboing.net/category/podcasts. We've got tons of great shows over on our podcast network there that you can check out. Other stuff too, like Boars, Gore, and Swords.
Yeah, that's the Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire.
We'll be right up your guys' alley.
Futility Closet has an episode named The Man Who Mailed Frying Pans. I'm intrigued already.
And next month I'm going to be on the Greek podcast again, which is always a lot of fun over with Dean and Mark. So definitely check that out. And finally, I think the phone number may not be working anymore. I went to check on it and realized we haven't had a voicemail in 2 years. So I should probably fix that. And then I called it, and it rang and rang and rang.
And it never went to voicemail?
It went to voicemail, and then it stopped the voicemail, and then it rang some more. So I'm not really sure what happened. So we'll fix that. So don't call us right now. We'll call you. We won't really call you. Leave us an email. That's better. feedback@swordandlaser.com. Okay, that's it. We will see you guys next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right. We are still live. Ooh, we have... Terp Kristen guessed that Name of the Wind was the current pick because Tom added it to his currently reading list. Way to go, Tom.
I thought you had already announced it. Why didn't you?
Because
reasons.
Because reasons.
What should we name this episode?
Put
it in.
Pulling out. Oh, Jesus. That was funny. I don't know. I don't know what we should name it. I do have to go feed the dog, however.
Aliens 3 ways?
Saving humanity with a 3-way?
3 ways to save humanity?
Yes, just 3 ways, 1 word to save humanity. That's good. That's good. Dog is staring at me.
Should it be hyphenated or 1 word?
1 word, I think. Right. I'm not going to Google that, though, because I don't want that on my search results. Or do I?
3 ways to earn investment income is one of the search terms that comes up when you search. Yeah. All right. I don't care.
Okay.
Cool. Good show.
They say in the chat room, they're saying Tom pulls out.
Nope. Not going to be the title. Send that to Mark Braunfelder.
Whatever. He'll change the title anyway. It doesn't matter.
That's fine. I don't mind that.
All right. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.